Inside the Birds podcast. InsideTheBirds.com is here as the Eagles are officially 1 week into training camp. They opened up on Wednesday a week ago, and here we are 1 week later. Geoff Mosher, how are you?
I'm great, Mike. Welcome back from your worldwide tour.
Right? I am back in New Jersey.
Nice to see you again. Now, did your luggage make – that was my biggest question the whole time was, did your luggage make it with you?
It's funny because we were concerned about that. Our luggage made it to every single stop.
That is the shocker of all shockers.
Right? Everybody kept talking about how the baggage problem was such an issue, and our bags made it everywhere we went. So,
congratulations. If there's going to be a miracle, that would be it.
Right. 7 different airports, and the bags made it to every single one. But, yeah.
Amazing.
So 1 week, Eagles training camp. They had the pads on for the first time yesterday. Let's kind of do an overview of what we've seen so far. Let's start with Jalen Hurts. I want to get your opinion on anything noticeably different from Hurts. Does he look like he's bigger or stronger arm, or that, he has made some improvements from your eye test from where he was a year ago?
From what I've seen, I haven't been to every practice, but Adam and I have both observed similarly that the comfort in the offense is there as far as knowing where to go with the ball, being a little more decisive. And then when you're decisive and you know what you want to do, Mike, you can throw with more confidence because your feet are set. Your feet get set sooner because you know where the open person is going to be or where you're going with the football. So I would say this year compared to last year, what we've seen good examples of that. But of course, there's also been times where he's forced the issue. He had a couple of interceptions a couple days in a row that was talked about. The most recent practice I was at, I don't think I saw a ball in the air more than 10 or 15 yards. It was a very kind of bing bang type of offense, and Adam, the one he was at, saw a little bit more of a downfield presence, but there has been some concern about the fact that Devontae Smith just has not been so far visibly a big part of the offense. The ball has not gone to him a lot, but I think it's still a little too early to worry about that. It's just something to keep in the back of your mind.
With that, A.J. Brown is there. Now we get a chance to see Brown and Smith and Goddard. Are you getting a feel of how that's all going to look? I mean, are you seeing kind of what the passing game looks like?
Well, I imagine, you're seeing a lot of A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert, and those are 2 of the 3 main targets you're going to see in the passing game. Zach Pascal has been out with food poisoning. He's okay. He's on the field, watching from the sideline, hanging with the coaches, which is good because a couple of days ago he tweeted about being in the hospital with food poisoning. So it's good to see, but he really hasn't been out there. So beyond your top 3 of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Quez Watkins, who is getting some good run in the slot, your next guy who's been practicing and really showing something is Jalen Reagor, who I would say has been far more consistent this year than last year. Last year, everybody remembers the kind of the one-handed catches he was making, those real, kind of eye-popping plays, but they were flash plays that were not consistent. I think this year you see a more consistent and focused Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, I know Reagor has been kind of a hot social media guy here during his camp here. And, you wonder what his role might be moving forward here. There's some people that wonder if he's fighting to make the team.
Well, I mean, this is what Adam and I have talked about, is it's not really a fair fight where the cards are stacked against him. They're probably going to keep 5 wide receivers at most. The top 2 are obviously A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. They brought Zach Pascal in for a reason. Hard to see. He has experience with Nick Sirianni's offense. And you've also heard Nick Sirianni call Quez Watkins a chance to be one of the best number 2 or 3 receivers that he's coached. So that's 4 guys right there who seem to be high up on the depth chart. And the question is, can Jalen Reagor take their time or take their spot away when the team has already at least committed to them on paper with contracts and philosophically with the offense? And it's hard to see it at this point. So are you going to have Jalen Reagor on the team as a 5th wide receiver with the price tag that he carries? And I would think not. but I don't think they're going to cut him. So I think the better he does, the more his trade market becomes alive. And as we've seen over the last 36 hours, Van Jefferson, Patrick from Denver, James Washington, Quentin Cephas, they've all gone down with injuries that are going to sideline them for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Right guard is the one area where entering camp that seemed to be up for grabs. Where is that spot right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's Isaac Seumalo's spot. It's his spot to lose. I haven't even sort of seen or given any reason or feel, and it's still early to think that he's getting pushed by either Jack Driscoll or Sua Opeta or anybody else on the lineman chart there. I think Cam Jurgens has looked good, but he's obviously been able to get first team center reps with Jason Kelsey progressing back from COVID and everything like that. So he's really, I got a good glimpse of him in the one-on-ones the other day. I thought he did an excellent job, even against Jordan Davis. It looks like Cam Jurgens has a plan in pass protection. It looks like his feet and his punch are in good synchronization, which is always like the first step. And then, being able to execute and keep the guy in front of you is the second step. But I still don't know that they would look to replace to start Cam Jurgens at right guard and move on from Seumalo.
Right. That was, it seemed like that was the one area on offense. And then, there was a couple days ago about Sanders and Gainwell. Do you have a read on what that running back situation might look like?
I tell you this, Miles Sanders, definitely, you've heard him talk about putting the work in and sort of feeling disrespected and being driven this year. Certainly put the work in on his body. I think it's very noticeable from a lower body standpoint that his legs and trunk area, everything about his lower body looks more muscular than it has in the past. And we know that it's been the lower body injuries, the hamstrings, the ankles, that have held him back. So he looks good, and he looks very explosive. I thought he looked very explosive in practice when I was there on Tuesday, and Shane Steichen said the same thing in his press conference. But there was that day where Gainwell got the first team reps, and people made a big deal of that, and that's understandable. I just think that speaks more to Kenneth Gainwell's development as well, the trust that they have in him, the fact that they're going to have a two-back rotation most likely, and Miles Sanders is going to be the guy, but Kenneth Gainwell is going to get the opportunity to get in there, move the chains with both running and catching the ball, and he deserves to get first-team reps too. He's developed and looked good. So I don't make much of like any changing of the guard or running back in this case, but I think it's more of a testament to the coaches liking what they've been seeing from Kenneth Gainwell, more so than that they're trying to kick Miles Sanders to number 2 in the pecking order.
I know Carson Strong was one guy that some people were interested just to see what he looked like. But is he worth a look, or all arm, no accuracy?
Yeah, I think that, right now he's struggling learning the offense. I've spoke to some people in the league about, his adjustment from Nevada to an NFL offense, specifically a West Coast offense, a pure West Coast offense. And they felt there would be some pretty big differences there that would probably leave a guy like Carson, swimming mentally for the first few days of camp. And, it looked that way to me. In the end of in 7-on-7 drills at the end of practice the other day, Tuesday, he threw back-to-back. He threw interceptions on back-to-back snaps. And you don't really see a whole lot of interceptions on 7-on-7s to begin with because there's no pass rush. You have the ability to kind of hang on to the ball there until somebody gets open. So to see him throw 2 back-to-back plays, it's not a lack of arm strength. It's just that he's not seeing it right now. And I have to think that that's because the concepts and the verbiage and everything with the new offense is a little overwhelming for him at the moment. But Reed Sinnett, by the way, has a nice arm. Reed Sinnett can really fire the ball in there, and I think he's made some nice throws, not just in 7-on-7s, but in the team drills that I've seen him participate in. So just something to watch. I don't think a lot of people know a lot about, including myself, about Reed Sinnett, but I was impressed with what I saw.
Right, and he's, by the way, another quarterback that's in the mix there. They brought him in last year. One of the other things on the offensive side of the ball, I guess, is that battle. We mentioned Reagor and Pascal. Quez Watkins, I mean, is there any, feel of how he kind of fits into this offense? Because, it seems like everything has been about Brown and Goddard, has been those two, but haven't heard much about Watkins.
Yeah, it's funny because you will soon. Quez does not lack in confidence. I was speaking to him after practice on Tuesday, more about playing the slot, and he feels he's doing a really good job. And he talked about putting a lot of study into slot receivers in the offseason. Thinks he's doing a good job of understanding that your route tree is different as an interior receiver, that your blocking assignments are completely – I mean, you actually have to block people when you're a slot receiver and you're running out of 11 formation, as opposed to lining up on the outside and just, kind of putting your hands on the cornerback on the outside who has actually no intention of trying to get into a pack and make a tackle.
Right.
So it's a whole different animal. He's embraced it, but he made a remark that he still feels like he is the fastest player in the NFL, and he made sure to say he stands by that. So, I'm waiting to hear back from guys like Tyreek Hill and
Right.
Nicole Hardman and whoever wants to, but Quez is not lacking in confidence.
That's a little look at the offensive side of the ball at training camp. Let's flip over on defense because everybody wants to know, what are they going to look like? What's the fronts? What's the, what are we thinking that this defense could look like for the most part? I'm sure, you can tweak and change throughout a game.
Yeah, so last year, Mike, we talked a lot about this 5-2 alignment where you would have your normal 4-down linemen that we would see, 2 defensive ends, two defensive tackles, and the strong side linebacker, who is Jannard Avery, kind of coming down on the line of scrimmage. And then he would come off in pass rush situations. I believe this year's alignment, based on what I've seen, Adam has too, and it can change, but we've seen more of what you would call a 3-4 look that looks more like also a 5-2 when you see it, but with 3-4 personnel. So what do I mean by that? So in the sessions that I saw, the 11-on-11s, Jordan Davis came out and played over the center as a nose tackle that you would ordinarily see in a 3-4 defense with a big monster in the middle. And on each side of him, on one side was Javon Hargrave, and on the other side was Marlon Tuipulotu, because Fletcher Cox was not practicing fully yet. So that's more of a 3-4 look, like with a nose tackle and 2 defensive ends who are built like tackles, right? And then beyond those 3, you saw 2 stand-up defenders, one being Hassan Reddick, of course, and the other being Josh Sweat. So those were 2 overhang defenders. Last year, you only saw 1 overhang guy. Mm-hmm. That would be Jannard Avery. This year, what I observed was 2 overhang players, Reddick and Sweat, because Sweat was standing up. And so that looks more like a 3-4 than a 4-3, but really 5-2 because you have pretty much, 5 guys at the line of scrimmage there. And that I thought was interesting. And Jordan Davis looked the part. And then in the second set of 11-on-11s, they practiced their nickel and dime defense, which was more of a 4-3 look. You saw Jordan Davis playing a 3 technique, which is a pass rushing interior lineman like a Fletcher Cox or a Javon Hargrave, right? With Hassan Reddick as a stand-up rusher, and then I believe I saw Sweat at that point with his hand on the dirt. So that looked more like your traditional 4-3 pass rush, except that Reddick is standing up instead of hand in the dirt. So Reddick's going to get a lot of snaps, and he's going to be standing up almost all the time in that regard.
Give me your overview on what that linebacker. This is the one I think I've been more interested in than anything. Is Dean, the linebacking spot. How's that looking?
Yeah, so a lot of people wondered why Nakobe Dean wasn't already running with the starters, and I've said, and Adam, we've all talked about it, and you, I'm sure would agree in your covering of training camp. I can't remember any time a 3rd-round pick ever just got first-team reps on day one. They usually have to earn their stripes. No matter who you are, no matter how much you've fallen, you're a 3rd-round pick, you're treated accordingly. So he has been running mostly with the backups. I believe yesterday he may have gotten some first-team reps. They are doing a lot of mixing and matching. But from what I've seen in practice so far, your first-team linebackers have been T.J. Edwards and Kaiser White, although Davion Taylor is also mixed in there at first team. Although when I did see some dime formations, when they have one linebacker on the field, one coverage linebacker, it would be Kaiser White.
Right.
So, but that's gonna change. Nobody's playing poorly yet because there's really just not a whole lot of valuation yet. So we'll. I imagine you'll see Nakobe Dean get mixed in there with the starters more as camp goes on, and he looks to prove what he can do, and they mix and match.
Safety, I guess, is the other area, or is it? Is that up for grabs, do you think, or are you seeing that spot is pretty much determined?
I tell you, I don't think this spot is determined. I think Marcus Epps is actually their best safety. To be honest with you, make that of what you will.
What does that mean or say?
Yeah, I don't know yet. I think it speaks to how much he's come over the last 2 years. I think we would both agree that last year when he was on the field, you heard his name called, and usually for good reasons. He's around the ball. He's clearly their best coverage safety. So I think that's good for him, and we'll see what that means in the long run. Anthony Harris had started next to him. Kevon Wallace got a little bit of runs one day, but I'll tell you a guy I think you got to keep your eye on. While Jaquiski Tart learns the defense, I think Andre Chachere is a guy who sort of reminds me of Epps in that whenever he's on the field, you hear his name for good reasons. He makes plays. He's athletic. He's instinctive. Seems to do everything correctly. I mean, obviously, I don't have access to the tape after, so I don't know if he's out of spot or gets burned. But my instinct in watching has said that this guy continues to be on the field and make his presence known. I don't think he's going to be starting anytime soon, but I'm sure they'll continue to mix and match. And if he continues to do what he does, I think there'll be opportunities to get him on the field. And I would just keep my eye out on him. I like what he brings when he's on the field.
Yeah, I'm interested in that safety spot. We'll see. Now, I know we are, Friday will be a week to the first preseason game. How do you think they play that game? Nobody, couple guys here or there. What is the anticipation there?
I would anticipate nobody playing in that game.
Well, what about the guys like you're talking? I mean, like somebody's got to play, right? I mean, are they going to say,
I thought you were asking me about starters.
But like, I don't know.
So, are you asking, does Kenneth Gainwell play? That's a good question, right?
Well, even the linebacker spot, you have all this competition, but do they want to play those guys? In other words, are the spots that are up for grabs going to be part of the process of winning that job? Will it be these 3 preseason games or not so much?
So I'm not going to speak for the coaches. I'll hypothesize here.
Sure.
I think the coaches would say, we're not going to learn anything more about TJ Edwards or even Kazir White in the first preseason game playing, a quarter, half a quarter, whatever it is, because I think that they know what TJ Edwards is after all this time, and they gave him an extension for a year for a reason, and they know what Kazir White is from all their tape study that led them to sign them. But I think Nakobe Dean will, of course, play in that game and get a chance for them to evaluate him in an actual NFL game scenario, and maybe Davion Taylor as well, because they may know, but he is coming back from an injury, and they want to get him up to speed and with his strength and everything, his conditioning. So in that situation, that's what I would suspect you would see. Miles Sanders, I can't imagine playing. Maybe Kenneth Gainwell, but it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't, because I think they know what they got in him. And they may want to see some of the other young running backs and what they can do.
Well, somebody has to play quarterback. Does Minshew play 3/4 of every game, or does Strong play 3/4 of every game?
Oh, I would think that Gardner Minshew might play a quarter, and then you get 2 quarters out of Reed Sinnett, and then a quarter out of Carson Strong.
Do you see any A.J. Brown?
Yeah, you're going to see him on the sideline.
Okay. And then how about Dillard, by the way? I've heard good things about him.
Yeah, he's going to play. He's absolutely going to play because,
I know he's going to play, but I mean, have you noticed? I mean, there's been a lot that he's looked like he's in, much bigger.
I mean, you can definitely tell, again, for the second year in a row, that he's added more muscle, but, more physique, bigger, stronger. And, I think he's the type of guy that benefits from getting out there in the preseason. You really get to see what he's got mentally and physically against some of the, guys who are trying to come at him.
Yeah. Well, you're right. People have to play in those games. As much as teams probably don't want to play guys, somebody has to suit up and play. You think Jordan Davis plays in any of these games?
That's a great question, Mike, because he's learning a lot of things. If he plays, it'll be sporadically. It wouldn't shock me if he played a little bit sporadically, but maybe not even in the first game as he continues to learn and sort of understand. Maybe by second or third game you'll see him.
How much better is James Bradbury than Nelson?
Oh my God. Not to be disrespectful to Steven Nelson, but I mean, James Bradbury has practiced well. And when I saw him, I thought he looked quick, good instincts, like a good corner. Impressive. So, does that mean he's definitely all the way back and he's going to be great? I can't tell you all that. But, I mean, I think in general, Jonathan Gannon calls a different back end of his defense because he knows he has James Bradbury there as opposed to Steven Nelson.
Okay, well, there you go. 1 week overview, everything Eagles, football at 4, Inside the Birds podcast. We'll have more as the Eagles get ready. That drops tomorrow morning?
It does drop tomorrow morning.
Are you on the new schedule yet?
Or? Not yet. When the season starts, we'll do a 3-a-week schedule. Right now, two a week.
Okay. All right. Well, opening of camp is here. First preseason game next Friday. Football at 4 is back tomorrow. Andrew DeCecco. Adam's here on Friday. Where's Adam right now?
Adam is flying back from the West Coast either tonight or tomorrow morning.
I hope those airports are more equipped than the ones I were at.
I can't imagine airports being any less equipped than the ones that you were at, but I don't want to jinx them.
Dublin, worth visiting. Dublin Airport, not so much.
Yeah, I imagine that everybody thinks when you get stuck in all these places, you get to go sightseeing. No, you're just sleeping in airports, right?
Well, no. I mean, we got to Paris. What happened was, why I was in so many places, we had no plans on being in Paris or Dublin. We could not get a direct flight out of Dubrovnik, so we flew to Paris feeling that airport had more flights. Well, so many flights were getting canceled, and then Lufthansa was on strike, that all of those flights were booking flights, which was pushing people out of flights. So we could not get a flight. So we said, well, if we can't get a flight, we did spend 1 day in the Paris airport. Well, after that was Saturday. We could not get a flight home until Tuesday. So at that point, we said, we'll go out in Paris, and then we flew from Paris to Dublin just to do something different.
Sure. No, hey, you made the most of it. That little unintended consequence winded up being pretty good there. Nice.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I'm back. Here we are. Right. Football 4.
Sounds great. Good to have you back.
Nice Philly shirt you got there, too.
Big win today. Big win.
Nick Castellanos with a bomb.
Castellanos, Robertson, 10 of the next 13 against the Nats, the Marlins, and the Reds. Got to make your move now.
All right. He's Geoff Mosher. Inside the Birds podcast drops tomorrow at 6 a.m. InsideTheBirds.com. Thanks, bud.
Take care, buddy.
All right, there we go. Football at 4 here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN.